What's up, everyone? Welcome to Tournament Tactics NFL Week 16 breakdown. And what we're doing today is we're gonna do a quick Saturday slate breakdown. We're gonna jump into the Sunday. It's a lot of football, a lot of holidays. So Merry Christmas to everybody. First of all, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas. Enjoy. We're all dressed for the office party happening after Tournament Tactics, so we're ready to go. We got our ugly sweaters. That's as much as we're getting. We got festive over here for this breakdown, guys. Yeah. We have a massive weekend of football. I love this weekend. This is great. Thank you, NFL. I mean, I don't love it from like a content creator standpoint. It's a lot of work doing all this. But as far as like going out of the football season with a bang, this is how you do it. Like, let's level up these last few slates. Hopefully everybody is in round 2 of their fantasy football league play. This is a critical week for your fantasy playoffs. It's a critical week. So hopefully everybody will get through that as well. And now we're just going to get into this thing. So let's talk Saturday only slate, guys. We've got a 2-gamer. I love a 2-game slate. And it's a big contrast. It's a big contrast between these two. Both are kind of shitty games. But one game better than the other. John Gary, I will tell you this once again. You got to get an ad block on your computer, bro. You got to have that. Like, you just have to have it on your computer. It's called ad block. It's a Chrome extension. I strongly advise you to get that. All right. So 2-game slate, guys. The first one is ugly as can be. Backup quarterbacks. 38-point total. Bengals at the Steelers. Mason Rudolph and Jake Browning going at it. If you take a look at the second game, we've got a slightly better game, but not that great in terms of the game environment, but great for one team, right? Where the Bills are set to smash the Chargers at the Chargers. Chargers rolling out Easton Stick again. Didn't look the worst. As a Jets fan, I'll take him over what we have.
Yes.
I've yet to find a backup quarterback on any team that's not better than all of the Jets' backup quarterbacks combined. And Easton Stick is in that crew. But we've got these 2 games, and I just want to, like, BobbyWow, you've got an angle for this? I mean, it seems like play Josh Allen or, don't.
Can we just call it that at the top of the podcast? Like, the obvious play is to lock and load Josh Allen and move on. That is what 80% of the field is going to do on this slate. So, yes, that is the best play on paper. That play makes the most sense for a lot of reasons. Josh Allen, move on at quarterback. But I think there's some angles we can take here as we try to take down a tournament and get different.
I feel like you don't win the tournament if you play Josh Allen. Just like, I mean, we had
a
2-gamer.
Still might.
Yeah. Like, we had a 2-gamer last week? It was 2 weeks ago. And on that one, we talked about, I think it was Monday night, we had a 2-gamer, right? And we talked about, like, okay, Tyreek Hill is going to be 80% owned. And he should be 80% owned in the slate. Like, he's correct. But there is always value in fading that kind of chalk. And then, of course, Tyreek Hill gets hurt early, and it's like, oh, my God, you guys called the fade. And I didn't call the fade. I just said, listen, anytime anybody's 80% owned, the game theory of this game says you never play somebody like that if you want to win long term. It's just how it is. So I want to talk about some other angles, but let's go through the other position groups because it's not like it gets much better. There's nowhere to go for safety here. I actually think James Cook is probably the best running back play, and there it is. So I'm sorting by ownership, and he is by far and away the highest owned guy, rightfully. And then, 80% James Cook, who hasn't had like the greatest year. Austin Eckler, Joe Mixon, Jalen Warren, Najee Harris. This has been, sort of a group of ne'er-do-wells in a sense at running back as well. Obvious James Cook, and then the rest of these guys, right? Chase Brown, little sneaky guy, little sneaky. Chase Brown going to be a little sneaky, 6% owned. I don't believe if he's going to be 6%, there's your sneaky play.
Yep.
And then, of course, at the wide receiver position, after Stephon Diggs and T. Higgins, you're also in kind of a weird place, man. It is a weird one. Jamar Chase.
No Keenan Allen, right? Keenan Allen ruled out. Pay up.
Yep.
Jamar Chase ruled out as well. So yeah, your pay up options here are bleak.
The lack of pay up options is going to do two things. One, it's going to force everybody to play Stephon Diggs. Everybody's going to play Diggs. Because why not? You have the salary left over to do it. And the other thing is, if you're not playing Diggs, it's like, I mean, the ownership on T. Higgins and Stephon Diggs is going to be crazy. Just super high. And especially T. Higgins coming off the big game. So we have that going on at wide receiver. And then I'm just going through the ownerships here. Yeah, you got your Dalton Kincaid. Tight end's a little more spread out, which is fine. So, BobbyWow, let's start with you. You had some angles for this, right? What is your take on this 3-game slate? What's a way to attack this where we won't be super obvious with what we're trying to do?
Hey, I think the first place you got to look is quarterback position, right? Everybody's going to want to play Josh Allen. And with the lack of pay-ups, I mean, you're going to have every reason to play Josh Allen. And so, rightfully so, it makes sense. I think on the other side of the football in this game, things could get a little interesting. Okay, we got Easton Stick, who we talked about, I think last week. It was opening week for him was last week, first game he started. The guy has rushing upside, didn't use it, of course. And he got out-dueled by another backup quarterback. But we talked about his arm talent. He's got arm talent. He's got that ability to run the football, and he's got that upside. I think Easton Stick in a game where the Chargers have nothing to lose, this kid is going to let it sling. He's going to sling. It's his second career start. I think he has a chance to match Josh Allen in terms of points. Now, I think chances are low, but I think chances are better than that ownership is looking right now. So he's a guy of the 4. He's the other guy that I'm going to have some decent exposure. I'm about 30 to 35% Easton Stick right now.
It's ballsy. It's ballsy, but this is what goes on a 2-game slate. Like, just again, remember back to these 2-game slates, and it is oftentimes the lowest owned quarterback that just surprises you and takes you to the tournament win. I won't forget Mac Jones from the playoffs a couple of years ago. I won't forget just 2 weeks ago where we had something like this. And again, it was surprising quarterbacks, not the chalkiest ones. And that happens a lot. So, of course, yeah, Josh Allen. What about Jake Browning, BobbyWow?
I want to hear Burnsy's take on this one because I'm a little biased in the wrong direction on Browning. I think we've kind of seen the ceiling of Browning and things are only going to get worse from here for him. I think, we started to see it last week where outside of 2 Hail Mary prayers, his stat line looks very, very ugly and very different. So I much prefer Easton Stick to Browning, but I think he's viable. And I feel like Burns has a good take on this one. I want to hear what he has to say.
I think I'm in, to be honest with you, I think I'm in line with you, Bobby. I don't know if Browning is going to be able to get there anymore. We saw that he had that really good game about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think that got everybody on him. And now it's just like, this guy is fading away into the ether. I don't know if he has another good fantasy performance in him. I just don't like the matchup. It's a tough matchup for him against Pittsburgh. That, and he's not the ask of Joe Burrow where he can actually, make things happen. Whereas he just doesn't have that prowess in the NFL yet. Plus he's down Jamar Chase and they could double up T Higgins in this one. That actually makes Hudson a little, I like Hudson in this matchup. That's where my ownership would be in this game, would be Hudson. I think he has a good rapport with Browning since Burrow has gone out. So if I was to put ownership on a singular tight end and forget about everybody else, it'd probably be Hudson in this 2-game slate.
Yeah, I've been loving Hudson for weeks now, but I'm not fully on board with the hate of Browning here. I don't know. He's been fine. I'm relying on him on a bunch of playoff teams. So I've got that bias going for me, but he's been fine. Yes, last week a little bit rougher, but Vikings defense is pretty good. Yeah, he's thrown a lot. They're slinging it in Cincinnati. They got nothing to lose.
Yeah, definitely reason to play him. I just think just trying to compare the two between Easton Stick and Browning, I'm a little more intrigued in Easton Stick's upside. We also did see Browning face off against the Steelers team a couple weeks ago, and it did not go well for him. So. Just a couple of reasons, but at the end of the day, I would rather have most of my exposure in Browning and Stick than soak it all up into Allen if I'm trying to take down a tournament. So both those guys, viable options.
So let's talk about the fourth quarterback on this one, Mason Rudolph. Man, that is the worst. That Mason Rudolph has a history of not putting up any fantasy production, and it goes back quite a while. Like these other guys, at least they're mysterious, and so you're kind of like, I don't know what they're going to do. Mason Rudolph, I kind of feel like we know what he's going to do, and it's almost always not good. But he hasn't shown us anything so far this year. So what about Mason Rudolph? Any interest in him at all? Maybe he's better than what we saw a couple of years ago when he was trying to be a starter.
To be honest with you, I don't think I will. He came in for Trubisky at the latter part of the game last weekend, and he looked awful. I still get those images of Myles Garrett taking his helmet and racking this guy upside the head. You know what I mean? It's like, but this guy's an idiot. I don't know. I'm not on board with this guy.
This is not very DFS-y at all. But BobbyWow, what's your take here?
I'm biased because I think Trubisky gives that team the best chance to win, as bad as he looked. And Mason Rudolph just hasn't gotten it done. It's a 2-game slate, right? So he has a chance of doing something here that's noteworthy. But to me, of the 4 quarterbacks there, I don't want to waste much exposure on Mason Rudolph. I think he's got the far and away the lowest upside of the 4.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph probably the worst of them. The game total's bad. You have to. I like to trust what Las Vegas is saying late in the season about these game totals and team totals. I think it's important to understand that as the season wears on, they become a lot more accurate with this stuff. And when you're just taking it at a baseline, you got to look at the team totals. These are the Shark Lab rules. Okay, I'm not looking to break rules so extreme here, guys. And I see a Buffalo team set for 28.25 points, going to score every which way. I have a bet on them, by the way. Now I made them as part of my plus 600 parlay that started out with a win last night that I gave out over at Sharp. But 28.25 points for Buffalo. You want to get a lot of pieces from Buffalo. They're going to be obvious, though. So the key, I think, for me is to balance that out with something unique or something different enough that it makes what you're doing not so generic. Like, for example, if you are going to play Josh Allen, maybe it doesn't have to absolutely be stacked with Stephon Diggs, because Diggs is going to be high owned and Allen's going to be high owned. They're going to be high owned together. And maybe that's not giving you the advantage that you want. I think the second best guy is going to be Browning, because he's been getting it done. Like the dude, I get it. It's a couple of bombs last week, but he has 2 300+ yard performances. That's more 300+ yard performances than Zach Wilson has in his entire career. This guy's only been starting for a couple of weeks. So he can't be that terrible. He put up he can't be that awful. Right. So, yes, I think that's your second guy. I think the way to get cute in terms of ownership is, instead of like following along with the, for me, the way I see myself doing it is, instead of following along with these, like, oh, I got to go 50% Allen, 25% Browning, skip Rudolph and 25% Stick. And that is a way to go. But one could also be more generous with the exposure to the non-Josh. So let's say you just wanted to play those 3, maybe 33% each, and just like go silly overboard on primarily Easton Stick, right? Because he's the one who's going to be the lowest owned of that group and the least likely to do anything. By the way, let's be honest. The least likely to do anything, but at low ownership, who cares?
So if we're gonna play Allen, right, and we're gonna make Allen our main guy, right? I would almost have to say I would fade Diggs completely.
Wow.
And go with Gabe Davis. And Gabe Davis, and primarily maybe even Kincaid, and just completely fade the 70+ ownership in Diggs, because if you have Allen and Diggs together, you're like 70% of the field, minimum 50%. So if you're fading that guy, and then James Cook, you could potentially fade him too and be okay. Did I just blow Geek's mind or something? Did we lose him?
Wow, I think he was so shocked. That's pretty dang bold. If you're playing Allen to fade Diggs, I see it. If you're trying to take something down and be unique, you almost have to. There's one guy. I want hopefully Geek get back here in a second, but I want to get your thoughts. Trent Sherfield saw a massive bump in snaps last week. He was on the field a ton. He actually overtook Shakir in terms of snaps played. I think targets were still 0 for Sherfield, but if he's on the field for half the snaps, he's going to be maybe 1 or 2% owned. Could that be a way to get a little different in your Josh Allen stacks instead?
Absolutely. I don't think Shakir is the guy anymore. If Sherfield's making that much more movement over Shakir, then it's a good way to get a lot different than the field. That's the sharp play. The Sherfield play is the sharp play.
It's interesting. I was trying to figure out why Sherfield got a bump in snaps. I couldn't see anything. I don't know if the chat is able to take a look into that, but I was trying to figure out why Sherfield would have seen. I mean, he played almost 60% of the snaps last week. He averages 30. I didn't think there was an injury or anything, but he's a deep target. He's a one catch bomb type of guy. So it could be a little interesting if you're playing Josh Allen. But yeah, Allen and Diggs, that will be legitimately probably 75 to 80% of the field right there will start their lineups like that.
Yeah, and it's a really expensive stack too on the slate compared to everything else. In total, I think it's, let me get it here. It's 16,800. So that's an expensive stack on this to start. So you got to get really different elsewhere because you're conceivably, if we're looking at 180% of our global player lineup pool in one lineup, that those two guys right there are 130% of it.
That's
two of
crazy.
them together, 60%, 60, 70% for Diggs. And then you got Allen at 52 to 55%. He'll probably be higher than that in some tournaments. I mean, single entry, he could probably be as high as 85, 90%. You pair him with Diggs, he's going to be in single entry, depending on the size of the player pool. You could be looking at 75 to 85% just on Diggs alone. So right there alone, you're looking at 175 max percentage on those two guys. That's crazy. I mean, if there was ever a way to fade it, it would be, that would be the way to fade it.
I think so too.
In a single entry, like say you're in $100 contest and it's a 55 player pool. We have a small player pool like that in some of the contests. And if 85, 90% of the pool has Allen to Diggs, and say Diggs, scores 13 points, or say we even give him the benefit of scoring 18 to 19 DraftKings points, and Allen gets 25. But, Gabe Davis actually scores 30. Those players that have Allen to Gabe Davis are going to soar over top of the Diggs lineups.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's worth a shot.
You were so appalled, Geek. You had to take a little time out.
That's it. My whole house shut down. The internet got disgusted by this 2 games played and the idea of playing. That was the most bizarre thing ever. The internet just stopped working for like 7 minutes and then came back. So that's always the fun of live broadcasting.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
We were kind of dissecting, like, okay, if you do play Josh Allen, how do you get different? Or can you play Josh Allen and Diggs and get different? And the consensus is probably not. At that point, once you start with Diggs and Allen, it gets tough from there. Trent Sherfield had a bump in snaps last week. People are saying a lot of that had to do with run blocking, and I think that makes sense given the nature of last week's game. But But at the end of the day, if you want to get different, it probably starts by getting different with at least one of those two guys, Allen and Diggs. I just looking at Josh Allen's scores, like the last several weeks, he's had one big week. I think that was against Philly, where he put up 40 plus points. But since week 9, 25, 17, 23, that big game against Philly at 21, 16, like, he's a great quarterback. He's far and away the best quarterback on the slate, but it's not unreasonable to think someone else could outscore him. Easton Stick, blowout game. He scored 23 points last week. Like, these are the types of things that you want to be looking for and noting as you're trying to figure out how to take something down. Because if it's me, if I have the time, I'm throwing 150 lineups in a quarter contest. And like you mentioned at the top, I'm going 40% Browning, 40% Stick, 20% Rudolph, running the DS and letting it fly. I think that's
just almost be ridiculous with it. And then accept, like, hey, if this is the Josh Allen week, and you have a couple of ways to hit with that approach, by the way. The way you're hitting also is if Allen does well, but somebody else does well as well, but that extra 2K or 3K of savings actually gets you on. The problem is the slate doesn't have a lot of like secondary guys that you're dying to play either.
The other issue.
The other thing is, if you do use Allen, get weird with it and leave a lot of salary on the table, like not even a little, like a lot, because the Allen people are going to play Allen and Diggs, and they're going to spend the whole salary. So if you get a little weird, like don't play T. Higgins in that lineup. Something else has to be unique about it to make it even worth doing. Yeah, and we all look like the same guy. We're rocking the ugly sweaters today. Little festivities. Gotta be festive, guys. Gotta be festive.
One question real quick. Do you feel like you have to play either one of Josh Allen or James Cook in every lineup? Like, is there a way around rostering neither of those guys? Like, to me, your lineup starts with one of them.
And sometimes both, but you have to play one because, again, Vegas is not lying to us when they tell us that these guys are supposed to score 4 touchdowns. The touchdowns have to come from somewhere. And the other game looks like shit. So it's a combination of like, all right, even if they only scored 3, there's a good chance that this Bengals Steelers game just like is the ugliest game ever. So, 38-point total. So, it's a unique 2-game slate. It should be fun, be different, approach it with a lot of understanding that if you do anything overly obvious, you're not winning. And then the other, I love double tight end, of course. I always like double tight end. This is a double tight end slate. They love the sweaters. It's a double tight end slate. Gerald Everett, Patty Fryermuth, all these guys. Of course, Dalton Kincaid, terrible week last week. So all of that's in play. Is there any? I think the obvious defense here, of course, it remains the Bills, but I think Steelers, Bengals, every defense outside of maybe the Chargers, I might just full fade the Chargers. Is that the one that's going to burn me?
I think the Bengals defense to me is the top dog. I love the Bengals. I love them coming up against Rudolph. I think we see it's going to be a 13-10 slogging, 50 plus rushing attempts game in Pittsburgh. So I think either of those defenses, Pittsburgh or Bengals.
And I will enable the stack boost a little bit here. Try to get some.
I will say I think the Steelers are going to be the highest owned defense on the entire slate. I ran it earlier with nothing on and just let it rip, and they were 45-50% in my run.
The Dom Station always loves the Steelers, just so you know. Our model always loves Steelers defense,
but so won't everybody else.
Yeah.
And maybe a way to get different with that one is that I wouldn't say full fade Steelers, but I would significantly go underweight on them. Maybe if you feel like you're going to get 40-50% of them, I would set a max of 15-20% and boost up the Bills and boost up Cincinnati instead.
Yeah. Basically a pretty straightforward 2-game slate to start the festivities. But that's just the appetizer. But BobbyWow, when you do Christmas dinner at your house, what do they do for the appetizer? Like, do you have appetizers come out first, like a little something? Like, people bring the sweet potato pie with the marshmallows on top of it, a little appetizer.
That's not an app for us. I mean, that sounds amazing, but we're keeping
I went
simple,
Thanksgiving
man.
in my mind. That's why
It's
my bad.
It's similar. It's similar. You got the cheese and crackers. It's like little cheese slices, the pepperonis. That to me is the ultimate appetizer and for these holidays. That's where I'm going.
You ever have a giant brie from like a baked brie?
I'm not a fan. My wife, big fan. I do not like that stuff.
Never had the baked
nasty.
brie. Not a baked brie guy.
No.
About
Burns, what do you do at your house for Christmas? Like you have a big. When do they get together? I talked to John, Statsational in the betting show.
Yeah,
they do the Italians. They do Christmas Eve, and they do something called the Festival of Seven Fishes. It's a lot of fishes that they eat.
That's pretty sweet. I could dig that.
The mafia guys eventually send one of their buddies to sleep with the fishes.
Oh yeah. We do a big Christmas Eve. We do a big lasagna. My mom will make a huge lasagna, probably an 8 to 10 layer lasagna. And then, I got probably for Christmas dinner this year, I probably will have 20, 25 people in my house. So
that's awesome.
I got our Christmas tradition at dinner is prime rib. I make prime rib.
I just bought a giant prime rib like 2 hours ago for this.
And we get it from a farm that is 100% grass fed, all that crap. And so it costs me so much money, man. But this year it's like double the price of what I normally pay because of the fact that I got 25 people that I'm cooking for this year.
How many pounds of prime rib is that? Are you talking like
30, 35?
Burns wasn't kidding. That's like $1,000 worth of steak right there. Like that is not. Yeah. He wasn't kidding around when he said that costs a lot of money. And so you do prime rib for your Christmas meal? 25 people coming to your house?
Yeah.
God bless your wife.
I'm so normally accustomed, because I do all the cooking of the prime rib because my wife doesn't trust herself with the prime rib and steak and stuff. So I do it. And it's a little different doing 30 to 35 pounds of that stuff versus like 15 that I'm normally accustomed to doing. So we'll see how it goes.
That is a lot of fun. And we have the season of giving here at DFS Army. And I want to share 2 seasons of giving before we move on to the NFL Sunday slate, 9-game banger. Also kind of weird, but we'll get into it. But a couple things we have going on here at DFS Army and Sharp app, of course. Sharp app season of giving. We basically took Sharp app is the sports betting platform for DFS Army. We took all of our tools, all of our analytics, applied to the props on the Proptimizer tool. We've got an AI generated an AI machine learning algorithm that gives pregame handicaps. All amazing stuff. We have the Sharp report in there with actual actionable information direct from the sports books on who their sharps are on, and an incredible Discord with some of the sharpest bettors around, Mud and Statsational and professional sports bettors that tip their bets and also answer questions the way that we do at DFS Army. Learn how to use the tools. Don't just come here and ask me for a play. We will give you a bet because it's different than DFS. Can't give lineups, can give bets. But we more important want you to make our users the hero in the Sharp app. Use the tools. You can make incredible plays using the Proptimizer, and it's free this week. So why am I talking about it? Because it's free. Season of giving. Trying to give you some money. Go out and win some money for your Christmas presents for the kids. Place a couple bets. Take all the Christmas gift money. Bet it. Double it. Double the presents. That's how we recommend. Just kidding. We don't do that. Don't do that at all. But Sharp app is free this week for everybody. So just go to sharp.app or you can download the app itself and check it out. All the pro features open to everybody. You don't have to sign up. Go check it out right now. Sharp.app, right? The other thing we're doing over at DFS Army, year-end promotion, promo code 2024. And I'll tell you why, because we're 2024. That's the new year. So we did 24% off for 2024. Easy to remember. Technically, that's why they did that, because I always forget to talk about these promos and shit. So they're like, you can't forget this. So code 2024, 24% off every subscription style that we have. New users only. Don't go and cancel your account. Try to sign up fresh. You probably signed up for less than what we charge now. Price always goes up, except for current users. We never raise the price. That's how we do it at DFS Army. Reward the loyalty. We love you guys. My loyal people. We're not like those other guys raising the price on you. You know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. raising those prices all the time. Fuck those guys. The DFS Army, where average Joes come to be pros. Let's go.
Let's go.
I'm feeling it today. Shaved, got my prime rib, went to the supermarket like literally 2 hours ago. Was just slicing two. See, I'm not having anybody over here. I sliced it up into steaks, Burns.
There you go.
Steaks.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, I sliced that shit up into steaks. When I don't like it when it's a roast because I like the crispy Millard reaction that I get from grilling up some steaks. And when I make it as a prime rib, it's like it feels like I'm eating roast beef. Hell no. So I slice it into beautiful steakhouse quality steaks.
There you go.
All right. Sunday. We're doing
this is a good. This one's.
Should we cut? Should we just go live? Like go live with an actual Sunday slate instead of make this 30 minutes into the Saturday?
No cuts. We're going right into it.
No cuts. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's do it.
We're going straight into it. Sunday slate. I'll put a little, in the redo. I'll mark it so that people who are watching, I just feel like everybody who's watching it will watch before Saturday night. So we might as well combine these two. And of course, I will be back. I'm going to be doing a lot of extra content this week. We're going to do a tiers instructional video with the new Sim Boost rules for tiers. I'll do that at some point, and I will do a domination station build for this 2-game slate at some point as well within the next 12 hours. Don't tell me when. I don't know. Got to clear it with the wife, right? The Christmas party. We got a lot of stuff going on. Where was he? Okay, Sunday main slate. Let's just take a look at these games and get an overview here. 30 minutes in, right? So a couple of interesting games, a couple games that have better, I think might play to the over. And I'm going to point out kind of like my thoughts here. But if you're taking, here's the domination station, game screen. And of course, you've got these two games right here that both pop with decent looking totals. Lions at the Vikings. Cowboys at Miami. 50 points and 47 points respectively. Both games kind of close. Close spread, high scoring. That's what I like. Gets really ugly from here. My next favorite team for me is this game right here, the Chicago Cardinals game, and I can't wait to hear from BobbyWow on this one. I love your takes on Chicago, always sharp. So we'll save that. You've got this game here with the Bucs and the Jaguars where I'm still not sure if Trevor Lawrence is going to play. Now he's practicing today. I don't know what's going on with this one, and the other part of it, the flip side is Jacksonville's a really good team to target with QBs against, but are we really going back to Baker Mayfield after his best game of his career?
Oh, jeez.
Make me vomit. You want to talk about a vomit play? That's Baker Mayfield when you have to click that button. Chasing it. It's nothing worse than chasing Baker Mayfield. The only thing worse than chasing Baker Mayfield would be chasing Derek Carr next week. Like if we're on this and you guys are like, we're going to play some Derek Carr and put up 31. I'm like, I'm quit. I'm out. It's once in a lifetime. Am I wrong?
Hey, we have no Milfson this week either.
No Milfson, thank goodness. But you can't. Can you trust the Jets with the dude who they had behind? Not only Milfson, but the other dude, Tim Boyle,
Simeon.
or the sergeant,
Simeon.
And Simeon.
He's starting.
They had Simeon behind Boyle. Can't
trust any of them.
Ugh.
No, I wish we had Easton Stick. It'd be so much better. One game that pops. So after this, like I said, it gets a little weird. Houston backup quarterback in there, most likely. Not a good thing. Panthers games are always shit. So not interested there. And then there's this interesting game with the Falcons and the Colts where that could really go either way. No team has. I don't think the Falcons have given up more than like 20, 22 points in a game or 23 points in a game so far this season. They've been actually fairly good defensively. But I also tend to like the Colts. They only throw to like one guy, maybe two, and then like 17 different tight ends. So, but there's only one wide receiver catching passes there, so that's nice. So, really interesting overall slate. How are you guys looking at the quarterback position? Of course, we have our three super studs, Dak, Tua, and Fields, I would say. and then there's like the rest of them. So I'll start with you, BobbyWow. Dak, Tua, very obvious. Do you have a preference between these two?
I probably Dak for me. I like how the salary fits in better with the Dak stacks, and I don't know, Dak has just been a little less volatile this season, so I think he's been a little more consistent than Tua. Tua's looked a little shaky at times, so both are great plays. I like Dak a little bit better.
Dak has an easier matchup, relatively speaking, in terms of the defense that he's facing, right? Like Tua has to face the elite Cowboys defense, especially their elite Cowboys pass defense, right? Where Dak gets to go up against Miami, which is a less bad, tough defense, right? So Burns, same thought on this game, and is this your favorite game to target?
I think it's probably going to be everybody's favorite game to target. It's a 50.5 point total right now.
They're not projecting well, Burns. They are not projecting to be high owned. I don't know what's going on. Again, it's Friday. I'm always a little surprised, but neither Dak or Tua is by anywhere near the highest owned.
Yeah, that's a good thing, right? We saw it last week with Allen too. Josh Allen was really low owned for being the highest over under game on the slate. But I actually like Tua in this game a bit, not because we're saving $100, but we know who he's going to. He's going to Tyreek. Tyreek's going to be healthy. It's him and Tyreek all day long. Now, if the pivot last week was to Waddle, I mean, he was the alpha. Should have known that. Tyreek being out, pivot to Waddle, it was a guarantee. But Tyreek's going to be in this game. It's just him, and it is Tua and call it a day. Don't even worry about anybody else.
I'm fine with that. I think you got to play. I think the Cowboys are coming off the loss. It's bounce back time generally. I think you got to play both of these guys, and I think they're both fairly easy to stack. 100% Tua with Reek. Dak and Lamb, I mean, come on, Lamb and Tyreek, it's so good. It's so good. So, but what's really interesting, and I'm seeing the chat is pretty mixed between the two of them. What's interesting is just how low owned they're projecting this early in the week. I think people are trying to take down tournaments, and I get this. This is the right way to try to take down a tournament. People trying to take down a tournament by finding the most expensive quarterback that does well. So when you do that, we saw last week that really worked. If you forced Josh Allen, which I did a lot of last week, it didn't work. He scored, he rushed 2 in, but it was just weird how it ended up coming together. He got 2 running touchdowns, but he just didn't smash enough. And of course, Baker Mayfield and some randoms went off and for cheaper price, and that's how you win the tournament. Unlike Josh Allen for me though, Dak and Tua are really stackable with their primaries. It's just an expensive stack. You will see though that running back position is going to get weird, and I have some strategy for this that we'll get into in a second. But let's continue on with the QB position. Justin Fields is actually projecting to be the highest owned on this slate. Look at this ownership. It's crazy. But I love Justin Fields. But BobbyWow, is this the spot? Is this the Justin Fields week?
I don't see why it wouldn't be. Yes, I think this is a great spot for Justin. Great spot for him on the ground. I think it's a great spot for Justin and DJ Moore. So I will have a boatload of those two guys. To me, the ownership looks that way. I don't think the ownership will stay 15% Justin Fields. I think it's going to balance out between the top 3 guys a little bit. But I think Justin Fields at an $800 discount gets you the same type of ceiling as a guy like Tyreek Hill, as a guy like Tua or Dak gets you. So I think Justin's the best play of those 3. Bias aside, he's got that rushing upside, and he literally has nothing to lose. This guy's going to sling it. Tons of really good reports out of the locker room. The Bears are in a good spot just in terms of like chemistry, where the team's at right now. They've got momentum, and I just think Justin Fields goes out there. I think he lights up the field.
Justin Fields was my first look quarterback. Like he made the first look. That was the guy. And part of it is because it's so easy to stack him. You know it's going to DJ Moore. Like you know it's going there. So you just put him in there with Moore, let them both smash together. And if they don't smash, they don't smash together. You know, like I think Cole Kmet is secondary for me.
Yes.
Especially in this matchup. Here's my fear in this matchup, BobbyWow. My only fear is that just Chicago just gets it done on the ground. Arizona is so bad against the run that like you might just be able to, and I don't even think I can target their running backs like Roshan and Foreman. Each one of them could get a touchdown. Like it's hard to know where the running back scores will come from. So that's my concern with this game. It's just like, what if they just have such an easy time? You know,
I think that's a fair concern. What I'll say is this. Despite what anyone around the league says, the Bears are still very much evaluating Justin Fields. That is priority number one for this game. It is not, although for me, it's a slim chance of making the playoffs. That is not what the reality is. It is they want to see what Justin Fields can do. They're going to open up the playbook for him. If the Bears run the ball 35 times and, they beat the Cardinals by 6 points, I'll be so ticked off. I think they're going to evaluate Fields. They're going to open up the playbook, and I think they're going to let him loose a little bit. So that's where I'm thinking. But that is always a possibility with the Bears. Yes,
absolutely. Bears have big decisions. I can do a whole show on discussing off-season craziness, but I think it's just not what I want to do now. But we'll do that in the off-season. We'll talk about some of these crazy things, including the Bears' decisions that they're going to have to make in the draft. They're in the best spot of any team. I'd be so happy to be a Bears fan right now. So I as much as you kind of had a rough season, I'd be super happy to be a Bears fan right now. And I'm dressed like Mike Ditka. Isn't this the sweatshirt that Mike Ditka used to wear? Like something like this. I feel like he was always wearing that brown.
He did have that Chicago design. Yeah.
He had the Chicago ugly, the ugly sweat. He wore it all the time, like in the 80s. In the 80s, these weren't called ugly sweatshirts. They were just called sweatshirts. This is just what you wore in the 80s. It wasn't an ugly version of it. All right. After those three names, it gets shockingly gross on this slate. The next highest owned quarterback is Nick Mullins. Now, I don't mind it. I do not mind it, but I thought I was being sneaky when I do my pick sheet that I do every week for DFS Army subscribers. I thought I was getting really cute with adding Nick Mullins to it. I was like, oh yeah, I'm fucking smarter than everyone. And this is the same shit that, by the way, this happens every week. Just to be clear, I always think like I'm getting cute and smarter than the field, and I'm going to put this name in that no one was thinking about. And then I look and it's like, oh no, that's the highest owned guy. And then I'm like, wait a minute, now I don't like him anymore. But that's kind of how I feel about Nick Mullins. I thought I was the smartest guy in the room until I just looked at ownerships, and he's the second highest owned guy. Really?
It's insanity. He's going to get eaten alive. Hutchinson is going to eat him alive. I hope he's chalky. I will not touch that chalk this week.
Nope.
How dare you?
Not one bit. Won't touch it.
I think, here, I'm going to sing the positive song for Nick Mullins, which is this. Somebody's got to do it. I'm going to do it. The weapons on the Vikings are spectacular. He's got a lot to work with. The Lions have not stopped the pass. They've been pretty good against the run this year. They have not really stopped the pass. And Justin Jefferson, Addison, Hawkinson, there's weapons everywhere. So it's hard not to do well when Addison and Jefferson are your pass catchers. And then you have, what is it, the second, the third, the fourth best tight end? A tight end that's that level of a weapon as well. So he's got a lot going on around him. And at 5,300, he does not need to do a whole lot. He just needs to put up 20. It's hard to stop.
That's the thing. Yes.
Yeah. So he is not looking for a ton. He just needs to put up, and the rest of the quarterbacks are shit. That's the other part. That is the positive. Is like, okay, well, who are you going to play? Geno? Baker? Mm-hmm. Who are you going to play? I mean, let's put this out there, right? So let's just look through this, and you guys tell me. I'll spit out some names. Is Jared Goff at 6,900 acceptable?
Yeah, I think Goff is in play. We talked about it last week. He's a guy that can light things up in a hurry. What is it? Last week he put up 5 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
He's capable anytime. I like Goff a lot. I'll be living in the Justin Fields, Jared Goff zone quite a bit.
Trevor Lawrence may play. If Trevor Lawrence plays, I'm interested.
100%.
Yeah.
I am so interested.
Beathard actually made my list. I thought it was going to be Beathard. And he's like, okay, I think I'll play a little bit of Beathard, but if it's Lawrence, much more so. That is the matchup that produces gold to quarterbacks all year long. And not only that, if Lawrence plays, oh my goodness, back up the truck for Calvin Ridley.
Him and Ingram.
Yes, that's right. I'm backing
especially with no Kirk. I mean, you don't have to worry about where the targets are going. I mean,
hell yeah, that's what I'm saying. And no Zay Jones. There's just no competition there. Just gonna go to those two guys. And as a bonus, like you said, it's not like a situation where you're super likely to get an ETN explosion. Tampa's not as good as they used to be against the run, but they're still pretty good. Speaking of good against the run, Chicago's been really good against the run as well, which I have a little interest in some players from the Cardinals, but not necessarily the quarterback. Much more like some of the pass get like the Trey McBride and Michael Wilson / Dortch types.
McBride's the only one I'm interested from Arizona.
Which one?
McBride. He's the only one.
I mean, he's the best play. But I will introduce you to Michael Wilson later on. And when you see what's going on sub 5K on DraftKings, you will be interested as well. I don't really want to play Kyler Murray. BobbyWow, can I play Kyler Murray against Chicago?
You could. You certainly could. He's too up there in price for me. I'm probably not going to touch him. There's 3 other names below that I'm far more interested in than Kyler.
So give me some of those names, because I don't want to have to talk about Baker Mayfield right now, but he's the next one up on the salary list and chasing Baker Mayfield. And he's in a good spot, by the way. It is a good time to chase.
Great spot.
It's as good of a matchup as you're going to get. Like, this is a great spot for fucking Baker Mayfield, but there's something visceral inside of me that would hate myself if I have to play Baker after a big game. Just chasing the Baker chalk feels wrong.
I'm with you. Yeah. To me, there's 3 pay downs, and they're not Baker. They're certainly not Nick Mullins. And they're not Trevor Siemian either. I think, to me, the 3 guys that I'm interested in, Joe Flacco, number 1. Joe Flacco, that we talk about Tim Tebow, right? Tim Tebow had that it factor. You heard that a lot with him. Joe Flacco has the it factor. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. That dude is balling out right now. He led that crazy comeback against the Bears, who've been really good against the pass, and he is chucking the football. So Joe Flacco firmly in play against the Texans defense that is very bad against the pass. I love Joey Flacco with Njoku, throw some Amari Cooper in there. Really, really like him a lot. Another guy, maybe not healthy, but Will Levis. If Will Levis plays.
He's not playing.
Are you sure? He practiced today.
Did he practice? Okay. The last I heard, it was unlikely. We projected Tannehill.
He practiced today. If Levis plays, I have some interest in Will Levis. And I honestly, wouldn't even playing Ryan Tannehill a little bit too. I think this is a really intriguing spot. And if you're looking to take down a tournament against a Seahawks team who have not been great against the pass either, Will Levis, if he plays though, he's riding some momentum. I feel like he's finding his footing a little bit. So little interested in Will Levis to D-hop if he plays. The maybe the craziest one for me, the 3rd guy on my list, is Taylor Heineke.
I knew you were going to Taylor Heineke. I'm not surprised at all.
I just think if we're looking at people who could put up 20 points, I think Taylor Heineke has a better chance of putting up 20 points than Nick Mullins this week. So I think, Taylor Heineke, guy that can run the football a little bit. They've got Drake London there. They've got some weapons and Bijan Robinson, get him in the passing game a little bit. I think Taylor Heineke is a very, very intriguing pay down quarterback on the slate. So those are the 3 guys for me.
Just the fact that you had to mention those 3 guys really speaks to what slate we're looking at right now.
It does.
Yeah.
But those would be the next 3 up for me.
So effectively, I mean, you got to love Joe Flacco just slinging it 45 times a game.
He's been fun, man.
It's funny because I made a joke in my sheet about the first week of Flacco back, where I was like, this guy's got nothing to lose. He can come out and just sling it, have fun like he did with the Jets, and why not? But it was like, that's not really how the Browns play, but Joe Flacco, what does he care? And what has he just done? He's gone out and done just that. He's just out there slinging it. It's like, I don't care. Let's have some fun. I love it. I'm not sure he's there for the 28 pointer, but he's been doing it. He's been doing it so far, and he's easy to stack. By the way, David Njoku is getting like 14 targets a game under Joe Burrow. A healthy Amari Cooper can always pop off, so it's super easy to stack that. Just Njoku and or Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Type YOLO, hit the lineup, see what happens. Burns, any sort of sneaky QBs for you on this slate outside of the group that we mentioned? We skipped over some names because I'm just not super into. Like in the chat, I heard Geno Smith's name mentioned. That's not for me. It's not for me. Sam Howell, I think no against the Jets. Jordan Love in the worst matchup you can have. That's not for me either. Where are you going with this?
I'm going exactly where we already talked about. It's very simple this week. Up top, you're going with the Tua or Dak. You're going to Justin Fields. You're going with Trevor Lawrence. He plays. You're going Joe Flacco and Jared Goff. And that's it. I can see Will Levis. But for me, it's those guys. It's very simple. 5 or 6 guys, call it a day. You don't have to get cute. Mullins. I'm not playing him.
I'm playing Mullins.
He's a full fade for me. I'll even X him out. I don't think you really need him. I think you just go JJ. You go JJ and Hawkinson, you're good. You don't have to have Mullins.
If I have JJ in the lineup and Hawkinson, they're not getting there without dragging Mullins kicking and screaming.
Yeah, but I don't need him there. I don't know if Nick Mullins is, he's just a guy.
Bobby, you need to switch up that picture on your like, when is that from? Like 10 years ago?
That might be, honestly. I'd be better off with this Christmas sweater in that one.
It looks like when you first got your like Gmail account in 2005. All right, Nick Mullins. It's funny, as crazy as the QB position is on Sunday, I think the running back spot is impossible. And I don't know what to do. I've been looking forward to this breakdown so that you guys can give me your insights, because I am lost at running back. There are flaws to every single player available, starting from price, going to matchup, and then to volume. And it's like a disaster over here. Yeah, by the way, and this is true, don't not listen to the BobbyWow calls, because, how many times have this happened this season that we were like, oh, I'm not playing Baker Mayfield, and then he goes crazy. Like, stop doing that. We got to listen to the Wow call or the Will Levis week. Oh, come on, guys. Bobby's been killing it all year long. Running back. You thought I froze for a second. I didn't. I was just taking a pause. It was a dramatic pause, what I did just there. It's horrible. And I'll go through it. Like Rashad White, 7,400. That's a problem, right? Pretty good defense. Just a little spendy. Raheem Mostert against the Dallas with a healthy HN, dangerous. HN, same deal. HN, Mostert, Montgomery, Gibbs, they're all in the same weird, only going to get 14 touches, but they're the most expensive guys boat for me. That's concerning. Jonathan Taylor against the Falcons team that has allowed no rushing touchdowns so far this year. 0. So I want to play Taylor. He was going to be like, I'm going to load up on Jonathan Taylor. The other problem with Taylor is got a busted thumb. Not sure he could catch a pass. It's going to have a cast on.
Jeez.
Can he catch a pass? I don't know. It's gross. Travis Etienne, okay, maybe. Tony Pollard has been shit all year. Can we trust him here? Maybe. So where are you guys going to? And I can go on and on, but I want to hog the mic here.
I can say first and foremost, I'm probably going to start most lineups with Bijan Robinson this week.
Really?
That, and then I'm going to go to I'll probably have a lot of Breece Hall this week. Another guy I'll probably have a lot of is Chuba Hubbard.
Oh,
Yes.
Those are the three guys that I want to have a lot of ownership in this week at the running back position. To be honest with you, I don't mind Devin Achane this week with Dallas coming in. I think it overshadows some things with them that we saw last week with Buffalo with James Cook. James Cook really showed how Dallas is starting to show its warts on its defense, especially when they're on the road. They're not the same defense on the road as they are in Dallas Stadium. So I don't mind Devin Achane this week. I actually like him a lot more than I like Raheem Mostert. I like the ability of Achane to, the speed. He has that speed. He has that quick burst. He catches a lot of passes out of the backfield. That's how James Cook destroyed Dallas last week, was out of the backfield catching passes. So that's how I feel like this game could go with Devin Achane. There's a few other spots down below, but I really don't mind the Chicago Bears running backs. It's just who to pick.
how could you possibly
Roshan
pick?
Johnson, they're so cheap. They're like 4,800, 4,700. You pick the right one. I don't know if I like Herbert at all, but I might split like 10% ownership in between Roshan Johnson and Foreman.
I'm just going to go check here. Let's take a look at some snap counts if I can find Chicago.
Because Arizona's
all right.
really
Wait a
bad.
second. There is some clarity here, at least from last week, BobbyWow. Roshan, 50%, 49.32% of the snaps, with Foreman and Khalil Herbert only at 26%. The problem is they evenly split the actual rushing opportunities, which is a horror show. I don't think you can do it. Burns, I don't think I can go there.
Even then it was Cleveland. The Bears are not running the football up the gut. Roshan's a good blocker. There's a lot of things that factored in there. It's tough, but great matchup though for those guys.
Yeah. So the Bijan thing, Burns, you're not scared that Arthur Smith is going to put some coal in your stocking on Sunday with Bijan and just say, hey, we're going to go crazy and let Cordero Patterson get all the work this week?
I mean, it could happen. It's what is the issue at hand. I mean, it could happen to any one of these running backs. It doesn't matter which one you pick out. They're all bad in a certain way. But for me, I'm staying in that. If I can stay in that 6K range, more power to it. I do. And the 2 6K guys I really like is Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall this week. These are guys that I'm starting lineups with. And so I don't know. I mean,
I find this to be gross, and I don't blame you though, because I cannot figure out who I want to build my lineups around. I'm going to tell you where I landed. I landed on Ty Chandler as my favorite guy out of all of these, not because of anything other than the volume is there. The coach says, "Hey, we're just going to make him the lead back." I love the volume that he's getting. The price is lower, and even though Detroit shows as like a top team against the run, I don't know if I'm buying it as much as maybe I should. I'm just looking at them going, they throw to Ty Chandler. It's in a dome. We're going to get good weather. We're at home. So for me, Chandler's going to get a lot of volume in his matchup. And you give me 25 touches to my running back, I'm usually just at 5K or 5,500. I'm just going to go with it and see and let the chips fall. Like, I don't care about the matchup at that point. I just going to want to let the chips fall where they may. Again, every other running back that we're talking about here is more of a 14 touch guy, and that's Achane, and that's really been Bijan too. A lot of these guys. So it's tough to trust anybody to see more than that 12 to 14. So you give me him. The other one for me was, and I hate this one the most. I don't even think I'm not comfortable clicking the button, but Devin Singletary, 25 touches a game too. And the price is right. BobbyWow, talk to me.
He popped off the page a little bit. He's getting the touches. It's hard for me to go there. Even in a great matchup where he's guaranteed all the touches, he's still a sketchy play. But given what we have on the slate, 5,500, he's worth some looks. I think he will be the chalk. My hunch is him and Ty Chandler will be the chalk.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
Shit, I just sorted by ownership, and of course, I am the donkey on the chalkiest guy. Once again, before having looked at the ownerships and now seeing that they are agreeing with some of these takes. Tony Pollard, crap all year, but the metrics continue to be good for Tony Pollard. He's getting most of the touches. He's getting passing game work. He's in a game with a high total. The opponent's not very good against the run. I've said this maybe 7 times already this year. I'll say it again. If there was ever a game for Tony Pollard to break one and break out and just have that 30-point game, is this it?
I don't know. We've been waiting for it all year, right?
He hasn't been horrible, by the way. He's got some 17s and some 21s. He's been in that zone recently.
But that cresting the 25 to 30 point threshold,
no,
we've been waiting for it all year. And he had the most pristine matchup when he went up against Carolina, the most garbage team in the NFL against the run. And he still didn't crest the 25 to 30 point threshold that we needed to that week.
Bijan did that last week. Got a 6.
I don't know. All these guys have warts this week. It's crazy to think that we just don't have one guy that is a significant guy. Like last week we had, 2 main dudes on the slate, Kyron and CMC, but we don't have it this week.
Look at the ownership. So my final take with this is a 2 running back week. I want to make as few running back decisions as possible and hope to break right, because I think we're going to break wrong a lot at running back this week. No matter which way we go, any one of these guys, any one of them could deliver. Breece Hall, you're right. He could have a great game, but when has Breece Hall had a good game when the Jets offense is having one of their meltdowns? And under Trevor Siemian, we just don't know. And Bijan, we're at the whim of an actual psychopath. Like, I think Arthur Smith might be a serial killer. Like he's like a psycho. So I can't figure out what's going wrong. I don't know. He's in a conversation. I can't figure out what's going wrong. Well, maybe the fact that you drafted a tight end and a fucking running back in the first round, and then you refuse to play them at all. Like, if you're going to pass up on having a quarterback on your team, at least focus on those elite players. No. We're going to give it to Cordero and our 5th round Tyler Algier. And we're going to give it to Jonnu Smith, a guy who's failed on 2 prior teams before coming here at tight end. Like, I think he might be a paranoid schizophrenic. Who's telling him to do those things? A little voice in his head. It's tough to trust this whole thing. Any other thoughts, guys, on the running back position in general? BobbyWow, any other thoughts here? Like,
you'll want some Chuba Hubbard exposure for sure. Chuba Hubbard is really intriguing spot. That guy is becoming the RB1 in Carolina, as gross as it is, and the Packers have been a little vulnerable against the run. Another guy that I think you want some exposure to on the other side of the football is Aaron Jones. And I know you hate Aaron Jones. We get grossed out every time he comes up. But given the nature of this slate, the Packers are in a must-win game. Must win. Aaron Jones worked his way back in last week. He had 16, 17 touches. The Packers are going to lean on him. They're not going to be able to move the football well against the Panthers. Jordan Love's been struggling a lot. I think Aaron Jones is utilized quite a bit in this game, both through the air and on the ground. I think he scores a touchdown. I think he ends up with 6 or 7 targets. Aaron Jones might be the guy in this mid 6K zone that gets it done. So Aaron Jones is my sneaky running back play here.
I'm friend you. That's not how it works.
I get it.
Hate that guy.
How about do we think it was a 1 week too early for Antonio Gibson with Brian Robinson out?
No,
Because he's out again this week, and he's going up against the Jets, who aren't as good of a defense against the run as the Rams are.
no.
Okay,
They played other guys. They played
thought I
other
would put
guys.
it out there.
Yeah, I mean, I want to believe it, but they didn't give the Brian Robinson role to Gibson. They didn't give it to him. They played Chris Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And let me see if I can find that team. I just think that game is so ass. The last thing you want to be doing is is Washington going to be scoring a lot? Like, they're not going to be scoring frequently in this game. Actually, Jacoby Brissett. Should we have a discussion about Jacoby Brissett? Is Brissett even going to start? Are they bringing back Howell? What is going on with Washington? I don't even know. I'd kill to have Jacoby Brissett on the Jets.
We don't even need to know. I'd say we don't touch it.
Yeah,
Get out of
here. A shitstorm. I do want to point out, though, he did not get the carry. The 42% of the snaps that he got last week, Burns, is exactly the same as his season average.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I was looking at him. He had 4 carries. That's pathetic,
Yeah. No, they don't give it to him. So I'm not going to speculate that it'll change this week. Anything can happen in a milli maker, but I think more importantly, because I had this thought when I was first looking at it, like, what the fuck happened with Gibson? And then I looked, and then when I watched the tape, I was like, oh, they didn't actually increase his role at all. And okay, I haven't been played Gibson at 5K all year, and I'm not starting now, even without Robinson Jr. Are we sleeping on Mostert? I think Mostert is way too expensive.
Last week again.
Yeah, but I think it's just too expensive for his split role with HN. It worked last week, fine.
It worked last week, 20 points, but he scored twice.
By the way, that didn't work against the 7K salary.
Right, exactly.
That's the problem. Even in a 2-touchdown performance last week, yeah, it was great for like a 2-game slate or whatever the hell he was on, but the reality was that's still not enough to cover
HN and Pollard in that game. Those are the guys you want. Yep.
Yeah.
One other quick note. Deonta Foreman popped up due to a personal matter on the injury report today. If Deonta Foreman is out for some reason, you can fire up Roshan.
I need a lock button, Roshan.
No, this still, even if he's out, not a lock.
If he's out, I'm locking it, dude. I'm going 100%. I'm doing it. I've been waiting for Roshan Sunday.
And we'll get to play him a ton next season. It'd be all over Roshan.
I will lock button that shit. I need a lock button running back this week to just clear my mind of having to worry about it.
How much do we think Tyler Goodson cuts into AJ's workload this week?
It's not Tyler Goodson. AJ Dillon's going to be back.
I don't know. He's questionable, and Tyler Goodson had a pretty good run last week.
Yeah, I just think the problem that's why it's just not a good scene at all, because there's other guys that are backing it up. But you give me some Roshan week, BobbyWow. That would, or if Roshan was out, give me Deonta Foreman. I went all in on Deonta those weeks when he was starting too. I like that with T-Bag.
Yeah, the difference is Roshan catch a bunch of passes, but
he's younger.
Oh shit! Well, Josh, what's up, my man? All right.
Yeah, I think you're right though. Ty Chandler, absolutely. I think Chuba Hubbard's the second more obvious play to me. That guy is going to get 20 plus touches.
Yep.
The Packers aren't great. Volume. It's about the volume at that price. So
he was screaming when I was doing the article. He's screaming out there "Yo, look at me, bro! I'm here. Yeah. I've been here all year. Nobody plays me except for the winning milli maker guys." So I was like, "Yeah."
Let's talk wide receivers. And I think this is the 4-pack, right? We might go tight end and the flex, but I love the wide receivers this week. I'm not sure why Tyreek Hill is not showing.
He's down below. I just saw him.
Oh, is he not the highest price? I have it sorted by ownership. Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on here? Where the hell's Reek? I have it sorted by ownership. Okay, here we go. So wide receiver position. Now this is where you want to be. I love all these wide receivers up top. Let's just do our high, middle, low here, and let's just talk through the stud zone. I don't know how you choose. I think you choose based on quarterback, really, but Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra, all spectacular.
Don't forget JJ.
Justin Jefferson, pretty good, except has a shitty quarterback.
Yeah.
All right. I like the other three more because of Mullins versus, those other three guys being the absolute focal point of their offenses, where Justin Jefferson can absolutely cede to the other guys. Jalen Waddle priced up. I cannot see doing that with Tyreek Hill healthy. I'm going to full fade that for whatever it's worth. Yeah, I won't have any.
His ownership spiked too. Look at that.
Jalen Waddle hadn't scored more than 20 fantasy points all year until last week. Like, he's just not been getting it done. With Tyreek out there, it's going to be Tyreek.
That's a tournament pivot right there. Is two-headed to
every week. Another tournament pivot, Mike Evans. Sure. Do I like him as much as these other guys? Absolutely not. So, like, if you had a choice on your fantasy team, and this is, I always present it this way. If you've got Amon-Ra and Mike Evans on your fantasy bench, you can only start one. Who are you starting?
Amon-Ra.
Without even thinking. If Mike Evans is there against every single other name that you can see on screen, outside of maybe, the under, like Nico and Metcalf, but all of these other names, is there one of these guys that you would start Evans ahead of? And it's a real question. Even DJ Moore, I'm starting Moore ahead of Mike Evans.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's the least.
He's getting some ownership, though, this week. 11.75%. I mean, that's the most ownership on a Friday that I've seen Mike Evans have, similar with Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
That performance last week pushed people into Jalen Waddle for sure.
You know what? James noticed something on screen. Where the hell's Pittman? You must still have him zeroed out.
He's questionable. Yeah. Pittman
may
not
so
play.
He's still in the excluded. So the algorithm hasn't determined that he's playing yet. So that's why he's not showing. I like Pittman if he plays, by the way. I want to add that in. So good catch, James. Polinsky.
That's juicy ownership on Moore, though.
6% on DJ Moore, the first guy whose name I clicked this week.
That's juicy. You gotta love that.
Yeah, I like it. So, do I need to like Burns? Do you have a preference here in this group? I think it's very to me. It's actually I don't know. So, do you have a preference? Justin Jefferson is projecting so much higher than everybody else. I'm shocked.
Yeah, he's got that coveted 100 rating too. Tyreek, you got to, Tyreek, he is a guy that he's so much more expensive, him and CeeDee Lamb, than the other guys below them. But Tyreek can get it done week in and week out. I mean, he's a guy that you can have with Tua or without Tua. It doesn't matter. CeeDee Lamb, I'm more so I have to have him with Dak. Dak's doing well. CeeDee Lamb's probably going to be doing well. Not vice versa. Amon-Ra, I can have him in a lot of lineups, without Jared Goff. He's not a touchdown machine, but man, he gets there with all the receptions and yardage. Justin Jefferson, this is about as low as I've seen Justin Jefferson on salary for a long time, excluding the weeks that he got hurt. So this is really low for him. Jalen Waddle, I don't know. Maybe he's a tournament pivot for Tua lineups, but I just don't see it. I mean, for Waddle to get there, it's got to be Reek has to be out. He's just not getting there without Reek being out.
And against that really good Dallas pass defense. It's not, Reek can. It doesn't matter what defense it is. He gets it done, but Waddle needs to beat his defender.
But Evans, I like Evans this week. I think he's got a really good run to be able to make tournament winning value against a really porous secondary of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If Trevor Lawrence is in on this game, I really like having Mike Evans as a run backs. Yeah. And I don't mind Mike Evans as a one-off either this week because of the fact that Jacksonville is so bad in the secondary.
It's funny. Jeff here is reminding me that, it was Mike Evans who kind of propelled a lot of people to their fantasy championships for somehow during the fantasy championships, he's come through quite a bit. Brian's asking about JJ. The shock for me is just it's not that JJ is not a solid play. I like JJ, but like, wouldn't you rather play Amon-Ra or CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill? That's what's surprising for me. JJ has to compete with Addison, who had a big week last week, with TJ Hawkinson, with a lot of other quality players. I love that they're in the dome. There are some things that I like about it, but he's also catching passes from Nick Mullins, whereas these other guys have like Tua and Dak and real brand name. Even DJ Moore has Fields. Like, I like all of those guys a lot. So it's surprising for me that of all of them, Justin Jefferson's the highest owned. Let's scroll down to the mid salary guys, because I think there's a lot of goodness here that we can extract. And this is where I want to live. I'm telling you, give me Roshan. If I could find some 4K level running backs, I would just punt it away and focus on these stud wide receivers. This is where the money's going to be made. I think these are actually easier. The money will be made picking the right running back, quite honestly, because a lot of these guys are in great spots. But in this next zone of 7K to sort of 5,500, right? What I can show on screen, because that's how the show works, based on what I can fit on the screen, apparently. Here we go. So a couple names here that really pop for me, and then I want to hear a couple names for you guys that really pop in. Right? For me, Calvin Ridley, if we can get Trevor Lawrence in there, the Riddler will be somebody you want a ton of exposure to. With no Kirk on the field, no Zay Jones, they're going to have to focus Ridley. This is a 12 to 14 targets type scenario for him. I love it. And especially against the Jaguars team that funnels to the pass, they're good against the run.
You mean Tampa Bay?
Against the Tampa team that is, yes. What did I say?
You said Jaguars.
People rip me in the comment. You know, we're doing this live.
I know, but
every once in a while, I'm going to switch.
I only corrected you because I just don't want people in the comments.
No, I appreciate that. The other guy is Bobby Wow's guy, Amari Cooper. Pair him up with Joe Flacco, but you could just play him on his own. 6,400, price is right. Flacco slinging it. So those, for me, those are my two favorite on screen here. Bobby Wow, second level players. Who are you looking at here? Is Tyler Lockett of interest? Like, where are you going with this one?
Yes. Yeah, I think this is a really, really juicy zone. We kind of bypassed DJ Moore a little bit because he's lumped up with the higher guys, but just above Nico. DJ Moore is in play as a guy under 7K. I think he's phenomenal option against the Cardinals. Like you said, Calvin Ridley, mostly if Lawrence is in. I love Ridley. Amari Cooper's in play for me.
Let me qualify something that you mentioned that. What if it's beat hard?
I'm not as interested.
I think it becomes more of an Ingram game with beat hard.
Could be. Yeah. I'm just curious. Beater, he didn't look bad.
It might be more of a game with Evan Ingram and Etienne at that point.
Could be. Like I said, hard to know. Beathard didn't actually look bad on the field for the little bit that we saw him. Okay, so sorry. Keep going, Bobby Wow.
No, I literally, I mean, you could go down the list in this price range. I think Tyler Lockett is way too cheap. He's way too cheap, 5,600. He's a guy that's starting to rise in this offense. It was only a matter of time before he got more involved. That's not just a Drew Lock thing. And, you know, even Chris Godwin, like there's a lot of people down on Chris. He had that huge week last week. I'm not saying he's going to score 2 touchdowns this week, but for him to be sub 10% ownership in that matchup, you're going to want some Chris Godwin too.
Yeah, I think I'd almost looking at these names on screen, I'd almost focus more on the ones I don't really like. Just like, I think you play most of these guys. I think Addison's probably a little overpriced for the role. Only 6 targets last week and put up a big number. Feels way too chasey. Like, this is not what you want to be chasing. Adam Thielen is a no at this point. He hasn't had a good game since like week 3 or 4. It was Jaden Reed is not his spot. Q tag, probably not going to play. Not into it. So Josh Downs probably not getting it done for me either. So there's a few names here that I wouldn't play, but I definitely am focusing on those few, Cooper, Ridley. And yeah, I like your call on Lockett. And I think you could even make an argument for Garrett Wilson if you like. Can't be worse. How much worse can Trevor Siemian be?
Worse
than Milson?
You asked that about Tim Boyle, and I told you it'd be worse. It is worse.
It was worse.
Trevor Siemian's bad.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It was worse, but I would say my usual mantra, which is If you can't play Wilson, you can't play Breece Hall. It's either the Jets offense is horrific or it's competent. There's no in between. And if it's competent, both of those guys do well. And if it's horrific, none of them do well. And there's no in between. It just all year it's been like this. All right. Pushing on. Let's go to sort of the salary saver group of wide receivers. And this is where we're going to have to get in bed, get cozy, get comfortable, and really live this week. The lower cost guys. I've got a few down here that I like, but Burns, I'll start with you. You know, in the 5,300, let's say, range, let's call it 53 because that's what was on screen before, down to, let's say, all the way down to 3K. All the way down to the cheapest of zones. Give me 3 names of wide receivers that you're focusing on for week 16, main slate.
Well, I mean, if people are going to start stacking up Taylor Heineke this week, you probably have to go with Drake London. I think he's just got a great matchup with the Indianapolis Colts coming in town to Atlanta. As we go down from there, you know, I think, it starts to get dicey a little bit, but I think Jackson Smith and Jiba has to be a part of your player pool this week. He opened up last week. He didn't have a crazy amount of targets. He had only 4 targets in the game, but he caught all 4 of them, and he finally caught a touchdown. You know, he got a touchdown that game too. So he's going to need to be in your player pool. You might even see him at lower ownership than like DK this week. Don't get me wrong, DK will probably he's the alpha in the wide receiver room for Seattle, but you know I really like Lockett and I like Jackson Smith more because of just how porous Tennessee's secondary is, and they you know they work more in the slot, and Tennessee is really bad against slot receivers. And as we get down further, I mean, it starts to open up a little bit more. I don't mind Elijah Moore as well. It's more Njoku and Amari, but you know, Elijah Moore he's there. He's getting targeted, and he could have a pretty decent game down in Houston in the dome down there. So those are a couple. I know you guys have a bunch of the 3K guys, so I'll leave those for you.
BobbyWow, the chat is screaming about Jamal Agnew.
I don't know about Agnew.
That's a showdown turd. That's not a main slate turd, is it?
And we've got a bunch of injuries too that we got to sort out before we get to that point. So yeah. I mean, if Jones is out, there's another injury too that, you know, maybe we look at it, but he's not jumping off the page to me as of right now.
What are you looking at?
Play than Parker?
Yeah, the Parker guy will have some interest. Yeah, and I'm already hearing the name. You know, the Jaguars got to throw to somebody, but I think they're to throw to Ridley. And yeah, but the Parker guy is probably. I don't think Agnew's role changes. I think Parker is on the field. He gets the Zay Jones role. Yes. But BobbyWow, what are you looking at here? Burns mentioned Drake London, who I love. What about some other and Jackson Smith and Jake? Also, yeah, good plays. Where are you looking in the money saving zone?
Yeah, I think, you know, Burnsy nailed it for me. Drake London would be the first place that I would look inside of the zone. I think one guy that's worth a look, again, tournaments, is Jameson Williams. He's been getting more and more involved with the Lions. We know that his week is coming. At some point, he's going to take the cover off of defense twice. It could be this week. Jameson Williams is a really intriguing play. He had like a 20+% target share last week. So definitely some interest in him. I love the JSN call. He's intriguing as well. One extra sneaky place to look is, especially if Will Levis plays, NWI's out. Geek's guy Akine's out. Treylon Burks has been missing practice all week. I think Chris Moore could be worth a turdly peg in tournaments here. If you're looking for someone, a crazy pay down guy, I think he's a little intriguing. He should get a bunch of extra work, and Will Levis can get on the football. So, but yeah, I think, you know, to me, those are some of the pay down guys. I like being more in that middle zone and upper zone, a wide receiver this week, pay down a little more running back, and focus there. But yeah, I think those couple guys for me are interesting.
You know, I almost smashed the "How dare you" button. But I thought you were going to say Treylon Burks, and I was unacceptable. But Chris Moore, I can get down with that. He's actually had some decent scores. So that's been fine over his career. I'm going to give a couple of names down here. I love all the names that you guys mentioned, by the way, and I'm on board for the most part. London, absolutely. I love the change of quarterback, the change of scenery. I don't know what the hell it is about Des Ridder and not throwing the football, but he just doesn't do it very often. Drake London, love that spot. Yeah, JSN as well. If I'm playing anybody from this game, I don't mind Lockett for a little bit more. Also, but Jack Smith in particular got all that talent. We'll maybe try to figure out what's going on with these Packers wide receivers, who's in and who's out. And Bobby, I like the Jameson call. 7 targets last week. Yeah, I'll take that. But the ones that stick out to me, I'm going with the cheapies from Arizona. Now, I get that Arizona throws to the tight end only now. But Marquise Brown is already ruled out this week. You've got Greg Dortch, you got Michael Wilson, and Rondell Moore as the trio of wide receiver. Rondell Moore pretty much never gets it done. It's enough trying to make this guy a thing. He's no Tank Dell. I think we can all agree on that. He's no Tank Dell. I get it. They're the same height. They're the same width. They're the same size. Tank Dell is what you're supposed to do. And Rondell Moore has been a disappointment. But, Greg Dortch has done well in games when he started and gotten all the snaps. And Michael Wilson, healthy, has had some good games. So I like those two sub 4K guys or 4K or below guys to take some shots on. I think I mix them in with some of the calls that you guys put out there. And potentially whatever backup wide receiver starts for the Packers, assuming all those injuries happen. And I think that's kind of how the strategy has to look for wide receiver this week.
Yeah, I agree. One final guy to mention that will get overlooked, and rightfully so given the matchup, Noah Brown. He's against the Cleveland Browns, which is not ideal, but they only look at him when he's on the field. So I think Noah Brown, John Mechie might even be out this week. Noah Brown could have 100% target share in this game.
No, I mean, Nico Collins might play.
If Nico Collins plays, yes. But if Nico Collins is out, which I thought he's trending that way, Noah Brown is worth a look. Even if Nico plays, because Noah Brown would be the guy that's going to get the targets. Just to call him out at 5K, Noah Brown's worth a look if you're looking for a high upside sleeper.
Not the greatest of match. I don't think I'm going to go there. Feels too chasey from last week. That's not. I looked at him a lot, and I don't know. I can't click the button. It's something about maybe
London's a much better play.
What's that?
I said London is a much better play.
He'll
be in my player pool.
We didn't mention Brandon Cooks, but you know what? If you're playing, that's more of a stack piece than somebody I play stand alone. But Brandon Cooks can get it done. Michael Gallup, those guys, those Dallas low volume guys, they could get it down.
Yep.
And Nico will play. Okay, so there it is.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the tight end. I love the tight end position this week. And again, reminder as we're going to this, those two big things I mentioned before. Number one, Sharp App Pro is free this week. That is the sports betting wing of DFS Army, sharp.app. Download the Sharp app. Go check it out. It's open. The Proptimizer tool, the AI prediction models, the Sharp report, which is money in the bank for sports bettors. And of course, the Discord with the coaching and all the things we have going on at DFS Army, but for sports betting at Sharp app. So make sure you check that out. There is a link in the description to this video where you can click and just go to the sharp.app website. And like I said, it's open, premium tools for everyone. You do not need to sign up, no credit card, no nothing. And of course, we have our DFS Army big promotion this week in honor of year-end 2024. Promo code 2024 gets you 24% off any subscription that we carry. We don't have these promos all the time. They're rare. If you're not signed up, go check it out. All right. I love the tight ends this week. I think you can double tight end it. Burns is nodding. BobbyWow is nodding. That is fucking gold when you guys both agree.
Yep.
That's fucking gold. There's so many tight ends. I can't even get enough tight ends in my lineup that I love them. And it's crazy that Laporta and Hawkinson at the top, they're not even my favorite too, but I like them. They're not even my favorites, but they are expensive tight ends. So you got Laporte and Hawkinson. You have the chalk, Trey McBride. Trey Mc double digits targets every week, Bride.
This guy just beats chalk all the time. He's the chalk, and he still produces it's crazy. This guy is just a producer of points, man.
It's hard not to produce when you get 13 targets at the tight end position.
But he just doesn't get them; he catches them. And so he's producing a lot of points.
At some point, a defense will focus on him. Laporte has been great. Hawkinson's always good. These are great. Evan Ingram, same story, especially if you get, I think even if you get, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Evan Ingram's probably going to get a bunch of targets in that Jaguars game.
Yep.
And the best of them all, I think my second favorite is David Njoku. Let me show you his target
numbers.
Good
play.
If people haven't been paying attention to Njoku, like our model fell in love with David Njoku a couple weeks ago.
We've loved him for a long time. He's been good.
Yeah. And he had the targets. He hadn't been getting the scoring done. And finally the scoring has come around.
Quarterback change has been beneficial for Njoku. When Flacco became the quarterback.
8 targets against Jacksonville, 14 targets against Chicago, 29 and 20. It's almost a little chasey now. But he's not doing it by accident. It's doing it on the volume.
Just tell me this. Put a paper over the salary. You got to start one in fantasy. David Njoku or Trey McBride.
So tough, man. Those two are
for
really
me.
Good.
It's Njoku a billion times out of a billion. I get Trey McBride's been getting it done. Tougher match. Yeah, I don't know. Just the price.
It's just
the quarterback.
Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but just Trey McBride.
You hate playing people against your beloved.
No, not true. Not true.
Team. Njoku's great. McBride is great. I can't believe we were getting McBride for like $3K a couple of weeks ago.
That's what I'm saying. He's so priced. I mean, he's the third highest priced guy. That's crazy.
Price has gotten and the highest owned by far.
That's wild to me. Woo.
It doesn't end there at the tight end. This is what's so good about tight end this week. It does not end.
Love Jake Ferguson. He might be my favorite tight end.
Absolutely.
That's all I wanted to hear you say.
I loved him last week. I love him even more this week.
I 100% agree. I mean, he should be a 20% owned guy this week.
No. I think he's tournament pivot off the other two.
For us, he should be a 20% owned.
Yeah.
I don't care what the field does.
He is very clearly a pivot. So let me just bring up the Dom station and we're going to sort by ownership. And everybody, these are pivots, right? This one's a shocker that I was not expecting. But, Trey's going to be high owned. Njoku's going to be high owned also. And rightfully, both of them are the top two. For me, Ferguson is like, all right, everybody's playing Njoku and McBride. Maybe I'll play Ferguson. That's a get cute spot for me. Evan Ingram is a get cute spot.
He's a get cute spot. Jake Ferguson, man. 3 weeks in a row with 8 targets. By far the highest scoring game on the slate. And the highest power offense. I don't know, man. Jake Ferguson is, I guess.
I love it. I love the environment. I think you want to force feed that environment. I mean, look at the environment change from Njoku and this stinker to, Ferguson and the 50-point potential explosion. So I love it. I'm on it. But I think still Njoku and McBride are like correctly the chalk.
Mm-hmm.
After this, so we want to continue to look through. There are some. I think you're probably how much double tight end are you comfortable with if you're running 150 in a milli maker on a week like this?
This week, 20 to 25%.
Bobby,
more than that. I wish I could triple tight end this week. I'll probably be 50%. Double tight end.
I'm leaning that way also. I'm leaning going very. I don't know what the end result will be, but I rarely allow more than 20%. But yeah, I could go 30, 40. Like I can let it. I think I'll handcraft double tight end a lot more. I almost never do that for a main slate. Like there's almost never a time when I recall like handcrafting a lot of double tight end lineups unless there was like one elite one and one cheapie. But handcrafting 2 like 5K level tight ends, I almost never do that. I might do a little bit of that this week because I think these tight ends are just as good as the wide receivers at the same price.
I was going to say, just as a little exercise, like we'll stick with that.
Yeah,
upper 4s, lower 5s. Look at the running backs in that range. You got Jerome Ford, Antonio Gibson, Dearness Johnson, Kareem Hunt, Trey Sermon. That's the Njoku to Ferguson range for what running backs. For wide receivers, you've got Noah Brown, Drake London, which is a solid play, Curtis Samuel, JSN, Jahan Dot. Like, it's unbelievable how much the upside for the tight ends is better than either position this week.
Highly prefer the tight ends that you just mentioned over all of those running backs and wide receivers. So yeah, that's what brings up double tight end. Now, I do like to have a cheap tight end in my back pocket to go to. I'm going to see if we can find one. Anybody you like down here in the sub 4K category? I mean, I guess Kyle Pitts at 4K, maybe interested, kind of.
Yeah,
Tucker
he's the
Kraft.
guy that Yeah, Tucker. He did it last week.
Yeah. It's not pretty down here.
It's Pitts for me at that 4K range is about as low as I'll go.
You'd be surprised how little Kyle Pitts actually plays.
I know it's gross. He's the one gross guy that I see out of all the tight ends. Everybody else above him is just so much better.
I'm not playing Pitts. Fuck that guy. Tucker Kraft, I can make an argument for it. Kate Otten, I think, can get it done.
I mean, Chig, if he plays, he'll get you 4 or 5 targets, 50 yards.
It's not exciting.
Well, it's not exciting. No, he's
Smite,
3K.
the ownership is under 1%. That's crazy.
I think you got to go straight to Mo Alley Cox and just say, fuck it.
Yes.
He almost got another 2-touchdown game the other day. Of all people on a 3-game slate to take you down and ruin you, Mo Alley Cox was the guy. He almost was the guy. I don't even think he was in the nuts, though. The 1 touchdown didn't get it done.
I think we told you about him, didn't we? Bobby, you remember saying something about? We said
no, we just made a joke about how
I pinged him. I pinged Geek. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more of a it was ridiculous.
It was a joke, yeah.
All right. Man. Any other tight ends we want to cover, or we can move on to the lock button defense of the slate? Actually, it's no longer lock button because now I don't know who the quarterback is going to be. I had a lock button, and now I'm not sure anymore.
Who was your lock button?
I mean, it was the easiest. The Bucks was the play of the year with the backup quarterback coming in at that price. You're going to need salary savings. And I actually think that Panthers defense is extremely viable.
Yes.
Just like, fuck it. Play the cheapest.
Exactly.
We've talked about it. Jordan Love is not the same quarterback with Christian Watson off the field.
Yep.
I'll hammer that point home. Panthers in play.
Yep. I just need the cheapest one, BobbyWow.
Carolina.
I didn't even realize it was the cheapest. Let's go.
Carolina is just getting it done every week in and week out on this in their secondary. Their secondary is elite. They really do have an elite secondary. The only way you beat Carolina is on the ground. They are definitely going to be in player pool for sure.
We went through an entire slate, and it's real. You will get to defense, and you will not have enough salary for anything.
Yeah.
So you just want to pay. I was going to go all in on the Bucks.
I was
going to do 100% when it was Beathard, and I actually think Beathard is decent. But you get me a rookie or a young, not a rookie, but a young quarterback, inexperienced, against the $2,600 defense, and that was like enough for me. All right, I don't need more. I think Browns at 3,400 is a really great play against Houston.
Yes.
BobbyWow's nodding.
It's Case Keenum, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's not that good.
Can we put some respect on the Bears a little bit on defense here?
Hey, talk to me.
Look, against the Cardinals, who are missing their top 6 wide receivers, Kyler Murray, who knows what's going to happen to him. They put up they're averaging like 12 or 13 points over the last 4 or 5 weeks. The Bears defense. They're one of the cheapest. I think the Bears got to be in play here as well.
Oh,
Bears
absolutely.
been playing good D.
Bears are in play for sure.
They
The Bears
generate
are like-
turnovers.
What the Bears are DVOA against the run is something like 3rd or 4th. It is really good. So, yeah, I don't mind that at 20. What I'm trying to do is pay down. My primary goal this week is I don't want to spend too much on a defense because we just went through this whole slate. And until that Roshan Johnson play opens up or something happens that allows us to say, hey, I've got like a $4,500 player I can put in a lot of lineups and feel good about it, I think we're going to be stuck with trouble making salary. The high-end wide receivers are so good. You need one of them in your lineup. And the minute you put in, a 9K Tyreek in there, it's like, all right, who are these 4K guys that I can make a lineup with? So it's not easy. And you want to save that money here. Burns, what about you? Give me some defenses that the Shark Lab is pointing to.
I just released the article, but I think one that's going to go significantly underweight, and they shouldn't, is but they haven't had a good year. But they can actually have a good game, and that's what we want in DFS is the Jaguars. Baker Mayfield has been known in the past to throw a lot of interceptions. I don't think Baker Mayfield gives us the performance that he had last week. I think we're going to see more like an 11, 12-pointer out of Baker Mayfield this week. I think Jacksonville is going to be a stingy defense this week. And they're going to be so low owned. They're going to be probably lower than what is on here. They're going to be probably in and around 1% owned. Browns, love the Browns this week. Yeah, Case Keenum, I get it. He's Case Keenum. But he's not a good quarterback. The Browns they have Denzel Ward back. From there, I like Indianapolis this week as well. It's
a lot of the defenses. Like Indianapolis, it'd be the first week this year that you didn't like Indianapolis. That would be the first time all year long. It's your favorite.
I do like them this week. I don't know. They just have that it factor for me. And then, I don't mind the Jets either at a middling salary. Commanders, I like to attack the Commanders with a defense. So
I'm curious if it's going to be Sam Howell or Jacoby Brissett playing.
Either way, I'm still going to attack them.
Is that known? Do we know who's starting? Have they announced anything?
I don't know. I haven't seen anything.
I don't know why you don't start Howell. That just adds to the craziness of the Commanders if they don't.
No information here.
I would be shocked if they don't start Howell.
No word. It seemed like this was just like a beatdown, and they'll probably go right back to Howell. Is that
kick him in the pants a little bit?
I definitely like the Jets more if Howell plays.
Agreed.
Like Brissett, for all his mediocrity, he's an experienced NFL quarterback, not a turnover guy or anything like that. Not somebody you need to target like aggressively with a defense. So, yeah. Bears defense, though. I like the call, BobbyWow. All right, let's wrap it up, guys. That was that's any last thoughts on the Sunday only slate? BobbyWow, just like some generalities, play tight end in the flex, have some fun at QB. Are we rolling with Flacco?
Have some fun at QB. Don't be afraid to stack some of those lower salary QBs because you're going to want to fit in some of these wide receivers. So love the double tight end this week. The majority of my lineups will have double tight end. I think that's where we get the most of our value. And keep an eye out on the Deonta Foreman news. Okay. That Christmas could come early for Geek. We'll have to stay posted on that one.
That would be like,
it's kind of why
the greatest.
It's kind of why I said something, Geek. I was like, you know what? Chicago, they're so low salaried. I mean, 4,800 for Roshan is crazy. He's young.
He can do it all.
You would even go there. you're ready to go there without Foreman being out.
That's right.
Could do worse. Could do worse things.
Could definitely do worse. Yes.
On a weird week at running back, just getting a cheap one. Hope for the best. That kind of thing. All right. Little reminder. I will be doing a lot of DFS Army VIP only live streams this weekend. We're going to do something maybe later tonight to focus on the 2-game slate and just reminding everybody how to set up the optimizer for a 2-game slate and some best practices there. I also have a desire before Sunday to demonstrate tiers using the Sim Boost model, which I think is a game changer for tiers. I'm enjoying tiers. I've, primarily because I got a couple wins over the last couple weeks. So that makes me I'm fucking churning away at classic slate, full slate NBA, NFL for a whole season. I sniffed a win, but haven't quite taken a first place yet. And meanwhile, I'll start messing around with tiers, and I got a couple in a few weeks. So that makes me want to keep playing tiers. And now with the Sim Boost, I think it's going to be even better. So I will be doing that for DFS Army members. Just keep an eye in my channel in the Discord for when those will happen. Merry Christmas, Merry Football, as you say, Josh Smith. As well. Have a great weekend. Have a great holiday. We will be around. And of course, I don't know that I'll be around to do a public video. I don't know what I'm going to do for the 3-game on Monday for the Christmas slate, but stay tuned. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get that on the YouTube channel. Probably will somehow or another, but maybe not. But we will have coverage for it one way or the other, be it formal or less formal, depending. So good luck, everybody. Merry Christmas, BobbyWow. Merry Christmas, Burns. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you win big money and have a great, but don't spend your kids' gift money on this shit. But hopefully you'll have a great outcome, and more importantly, spend some time with the family and have a wonderful season. So good luck, everybody. We will see you next time.